Happy Tall Tale Tuesday, everybody. Wifey's not here yet. She is finishing up in the kitchen because we had a fun day with the kiddos, set up the Christmas tree today. That was super fun. I am in bed just because it's 7:30. It's not necessarily bedtime, but we go to bed early. But I didn't forget about you. It's Tall Tale Tuesday, and I have, I think, the most epic prison story ever. Well, most epic one that I have, at least. So, 3 days before Ellie was born, I was still working at the prison, and maybe a couple days before that, I had already gotten what high school kids call senioritis, where you just kind of, you're out, you don't really care. I didn't know that I was going to leave for good. I knew that I was going to leave for 3 months of maternity leave because that's how long the prison allowed us to get off, which was insane. It was 12 nice weeks that were paid because I had enough vacation and holiday time stacked up. And so I was getting ready for that, and I just didn't care about work at the moment, and I was just kind of spacing out. I had done 6 hours on the floor, and then I was doing my 6 hours in the picket, which is a room, 2-story room. You climb this spiral staircase up to the top, and you're just up there for 6 hours. And you've got 2 bosses walking around on the floor, and they'll wave at you, whatever, because you can't hear anything because you got layers of plexiglass in between you. 2 different chambers. So long story short, no, long story long. I always tell long stories. I had two officers walking the floors. We were doing showers on G5 custody inmates. So they're walking around doing their job, and we got done with 1 section, 2 section, and then we were working on 3 section. And it was kind of late in the day. Like I said, I had done my 6 hours on the floor. Then I was doing 6 hours in the picket, so they were doing 6 hours on the floor, and working with 2 awesome bosses. So we had a great day. And I was sitting there twirling my flashlight, thinking I'm cool, and I dropped it. And on this control panel, I should have drawn this out for y'all. I'm drawing out the story, but not, should have drawn it on paper. So each section has, let's just focus on 3 section, because that's where we're at. There's 3 rows, 3 tiers. And then there is 8 cells, I think, on each row, and then 2 inmates per cell. So it's, let me think, is that right? 8 cells? Yeah, I think it's 8, and then 8, and then 8. Doesn't matter. There's 3 rows. And then at the very front of the... Hey, what's up, girl? At the very front part of the panel, there's 1 switch per row in case there's a fire. You can let all the inmates out. Well, my flashlight decided to not only fall and hit that top one and let all the inmates out, but then it hit the next one and let all the inmates out and hit the next one. It hit 3 buttons in a row. Like, can't make this up. Guess I could, but not making it up. It hit all 3 releases. I let, 48 inmates out? Because I think it's 24. Yeah, 8 times 3 is 24, right? And then times 2 per cell, so 48 inmates. G5 custody, they're not supposed to even be out, not even 2 of them at a time. There's supposed to be 1 offender out in handcuffs after being strip searched with 2 officers on him. So I let 48 G5 inmates out into the day room, and we had a good respect going on with these inmates. Like, I could go down there, me skinny, 160 pounds, I think, is what I was at the time, is, I mean, that's all I ever weighed there, and I never really had a big issue with these guys. Like, we had a great respect for one another, but this day, since I messed up, they decided to call me out and have some fun. So they would get all of their clothes off, they'd dance on the day room tables and show me everything they got, and that was super awesome. And most of them were respectful. They'd do the little naked dance, and then they'd go back in the cell and they'd close their own door behind them, which that showed me, like, they're making fun of me, but they do still respect me. So 46 offenders did exactly that. They would run around, hang from the pipes on the outside of the runs, or the stairway, basically, and then they would they go back in the house. But 2 inmates did not want to go back in the house, and we had to have that whole issue. But that was that's one of my stories from the prison that I'll never forget, because I let 48 G5 inmates out all at once. Yep. So happy Tall Tale Tuesday. I didn't forget about you. I think that's the only story for today, though, because I did some thinking, and All right, well, this one's shorter, but somebody requested this. This pinky. Somebody said, what's up with your pinky? And what is up with this pinky is that I tried to catch a football 8 years ago. Is that when I lived with Tanner? No, like 9 or 10 years ago. I don't know. Doesn't matter. About a decade ago, tried to catch a football, and I think I tore the tendon or ligament. Is a tendon, right? On the top.
A tendon is muscle to bone. A ligament is bone to bone.
That doesn't help me because I don't know what's in my finger.
You have all those things in your finger. Probably a ligament.
So I tore everything in my finger.
Or probably a tendon. I'm sorry.
She doesn't even know. Aren't you a doctor? Anyways, how often do dogs tear their fingers? Anyways, that's what I tore. So that's my funny pinky. And it's still closed, and everybody's like, you should go get it. Wow.
Hi.
Wow. Everybody's like, you should go get it fixed because it's weird. And I was like, it is pretty weird, but it still works. Like, I never need to extend my pinky extra hard. I just need it to close, and it closes fine. I don't know. That's my wife.
Hi.
We're going to go watch a show now, I think. We need to find a show.
I could tell a story.
Oh, I didn't know you had one.
Yeah,
wait, we should tell it on a second story.
Oh.
Or do you want this to be like a 10-minute video?
I don't care. It's easier for people to just watch one video.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, yesterday I was talking to my dad, and he said, your tall tales aren't really tall tales.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I do... So, this is not a tall tale. This is actually the truth about is what I'm going to tell. Because...
We have only told the truth.
I know. But...
I'll be quiet.
Yeah, you're ruining this whole thing. So, I told a tall tale back in the day, and to pretty much everybody, but mainly my parents were the problem here. So, mom and dad, here's the truth. And there's a few funny things about this story. So, Mark and I started dating. A little laid down. Mark and I started dating in like late October of 2008. Oh, I almost spilled that. Oh my little. So Christmas break was like a month later. We'd been dating for like a month. And we both lived in College Station, and Christmas break we went home. This is when we were in college. We went home and spent 3-4 weeks with our families. So I packed up my car, I packed up my cat, and I got on the road. I said bye to Mark. I got on the road, and about an hour outside of town, I was in another town, a smaller town, and there was a weird truck next to me. It was like by weird I mean old or classic or something like that. Something that Mark cares about and that I don't. And I tried with my flip phone while going roughly 55 to 60 miles an hour to take a picture of the truck that was also next to me and moving. And in the process, my car drifted off to the right, and I popped two tires. Sorry, there's a bug there. I popped 2 tires and broke a wheel. I would say rim, but Mark would be mad if I said rim instead of wheel.
Yep.
And then...
And actually, you bent one and broke the other, and the bent one was not too bad.
Yeah, I did that. And so I called my parents, who were still 2 hours away, and there wasn't really much that they could do about it because I needed to get my car home for Christmas because I was working then. And I told them that my cat was loose in the car and had gotten under the pedals, and I was trying to get him away from them, and that he was putting me in danger, so that's why I hit the curb. which is completely false. My cat was not only safely in his carrier, that carrier was seat belted into the seat and everything. That cat was so safe, and I so lied about it because I was being an idiot trying to take a picture with my phone.
For your new boyfriend. For
my new boyfriend, who also almost broke up with me because this was such a stupid incident. We'd only been dating for a month, so he was like, what have I gotten myself into? I didn't know this until years later.
Nope. I thought really hard about it.
He thought pretty hard about it, but I never knew. we never broke up during our dating period, but that was the closest
Not
we
yet.
ever got. That was the closest we ever got.
Yep.
So mom and dad totally lied about that. But I love you very much, and I blamed the cat for me being an idiot.
Yep.
And then Mark almost broke up with me, unbeknownst to me at the time.
Yep.
But he did come and save me, which I thought he was super great for, and I wanted to marry him for it, which luckily I got my way.
And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, like, about to ditch this girl as soon as we get these tires fixed. All right, well, while we're talking about stories like that, I told my dad recently that with an ex-girlfriend a long time ago, I spun his Corvette off the side of the road. It happened to be on the road that's about, well, it's walking distance from here. And I was showing off. I had my girlfriend in the passenger seat of Dad's Corvette, and I thought it was real cool. And it's a manual, so I was in first gear, and I got it a little bit sideways, and then I shifted to second. But when I hit the clutch, it regained traction, straightened out, and the momentum totally shifted. And then I hit second, dropped the clutch, hit the accelerator, and it just spun it. And so I spun it. I was sliding backwards. I slid off the road and then into a ditch. It was muddy, too, so it just kept sliding. It slid and slid and slid until I hit a tree, but the way that I hit a tree was there was one branch sticking out, and it just contacted Dad's tire on the driver's front wheel, and that stopped the momentum of this Corvette. And then I was just like, oh my goodness. And we were super inclined. It was like, I don't know, 30 degrees maybe. It was super steep, but it was more like 20 because 30 is insane. But super inclined to where we could almost not get out of the passenger side. And this one, we're like up against trees and a fence. So we barely got out of this door. And then I was freaking out because Dad's Corvette is like in a ditch against a tree. And I didn't know that it wasn't damaged at all. I was like, I ruined Dad's nice Corvette. So this old man pulls up in his big F-350 or something. And he's like, you need help? And I'm like, yes, please. Yes, please help me now. And so he hooks up and he starts dragging. I just see the nose of the Corvette getting closer and closer. And I was like, we got to get it out of here. It's probably already messed up. It's just going to mess it up worse. Guy pulled it out. It was spotless except for the mud. And so we drove straight to a car wash, washed Dad's Corvette off, and drove it back home. It did not have a single scratch on it. And Dad never knew until like a year ago.
Oh, I have another tall tale.
Boom, keep them rolling.
When it comes to vehicles, this one's actually... Well, okay, so this is another thing. I guess we're just going to talk about how we always lied to our parents when we were young and stupid.
That's what Tall Tale Tuesday should become.
Yeah, I know. How you lied to your parents when you were young and dumb. So this was actually one that like went on for several years, and I still can't actually remember if I already told my mom and dad the truth about this or not, but I don't think I have. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's the story I thought you were going to tell a second ago.
So my cat Trax, the very first cat I ever owned, I'd never had a cat before, and I acquired him. The way that I acquired him, I brought him home in a 7-Up box. My parents had no idea where he came from. The story that I told was that I was visiting my boyfriend at the time. This is probably about a little over a year before I met Mark. I was visiting my boyfriend at the time. He went to college in a different town. And I told them that I found this kitten near a set of railroad tracks. So I named him Trax.
Perfect.
In reality, what really happened is my boyfriend that night, so it was like one of the first couple weeks of school, so everybody's throwing parties, and they threw a party at their townhouse, and then everybody was like, hey, let's go to some bar down the road or something like that, and my boyfriend at the time did not know where it was, so he was just gonna follow one of them. I did not know that he had been like heavily drinking, like heavily, and he was following his roommate to wherever we were going, and a car got in between them, and so he like freaked out that he wouldn't be able to follow him like that. So he went around him on the left side, sped up, flew over a set of railroad tracks from a left-only lane. He went straight into the median. So it's flew over the railroad tracks into a median. Totaled his car. He totaled it. Neither of us was hurt, which is magical. I never told my parents. I never told my parents that. And I'm pretty sure he never told his either. He got a brand new car and everything.
But he definitely didn't tell him.
Yeah, he definitely didn't tell them what happened.
Oh, jeez.
But so, it got towed to a junkyard, and we had to go to the junkyard the next day to figure out what was going to happen. And while we were there, it was a junkyard. It was not the greatest place, and they were like, by the way, you want a kitten? We haven't seen the mom in a few days. And I was like, what? So I looked around, and there were all these cute little kitties, and I picked him up and took him home. And I named him Tracks because we flew over the railroad tracks.
Should have named him Trash since he came from the junkyard.
I should have named him in Median since we flew into a median. Anyway. Yeah, Mom, Dad, I don't know if I ever told you that before.
Sorry.
Everybody has stories like that. I mean, we're 30 now, so
yeah.
Everybody does dumb stuff when they're younger. I don't advise it. I don't think it's a good idea at all. Don't do anything that we did.
Nope.
And if you do, tell the truth about it. Also, don't lie like we did.
I can't think of any more tall tales for me to tell. I'm thinking of ones that Matt should probably tell Dad, but that's not my place. So I'll run those by Matt first. Maybe for next Tuesday. Yep, I think that's all we got.
Yep.
Cool. We're going to watch TV now.
Bye.
Hope y'all had a good day. I had a really good day. Didn't start feeling crappy until like 3, and I started getting a headache, and that was it. So things are looking up and up. Next Monday, we will start chemo again, round 2. So I will be feeling bleh again. But this week is pretty great. So,
bye. Say night-night, little. Oh, my little.